The U.S. has a large troop presence in the region and promised unspecified support for Israel. Officials also confirming the U.S. shot down some of the Iranian drones and missiles headed towards Israel. ABC's White House correspondent Mary Alice Parks is joining us now from the North Lawn with more on the administration's response. Mary Alice, good morning.
Yeah, well, good morning. After a tense day here at the White House and overnight, the president huddled with his senior advisors in the Situation Room for hours and, of course, speaking directly with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. You can feel this morning the White House breathing a bit of a sigh of relief, grateful that U.S. service capabilities, the Israeli defense capabilities worked so remarkably well. Grateful that Iran seems to only have targeted military bases, and in the end, damage was extremely light. Now, we heard the White House National Security Advisor John Kirby telling you that any Israeli response will be up to them. But it's hard to imagine the U.S. in any way, at least publicly, helping with that kind of response. I mean, the president, the entire administration has been very clear. They do not want direct conflict with Iran. They do not want a tit for tat, a back and forth to spiral into a larger regional war. That is the big anxiety. And I imagine here at home, too, there will be an anxiety that the focus has now shifted away from Gaza. I mean, many in the president's own party, we know, have been lobbying this White House so hard. The president, in turn, lobbying Netanyahu aggressively to allow more aid into Gaza, where civilians are facing famine. Getting aid in, limiting that suffering, still a major priority for this White House. The White House is not going to want that to get lost, Gio.
Such a serious issue, Mary Alice, and that's why we want to go ahead and bring in ABC News contributor Lieutenant General Douglas Lute. General Lute, thank you so much for being here. Since the Israel-Hamas war started 6 months ago, everyone has been concerned that this conflict will set off a wider war in the region. So is this it?
Well, there's no question that it's broadened, because now you have, for the first time in recent history, a scale of an attack and the origin of the attack from Iran directly. So here, Iran directly hitting Israel has, to some extent, already broadened the conflict. It doesn't mean, however, that this escalatory ladder has to continue. So I think the next step is over to Israel to see what's next.
So let's talk about this, because U.S. officials say American forces have shot down dozens of those drones and missiles. With this kind of involvement, what is the U.S. risking?
Well, look, first of all, the U.S. is stepping up and doing what it says it will do, which is stand with Israel in the legitimate defense of Israel itself. So that's entirely expected. The U.S. has been intercepting drones and cruise missiles emanating from Iran's partners, its proxies, for some time now. Think the Houthis, for example, or Iranian-based Shia militia in Syria and Iraq. So that's not different. What's different is that these missiles originated from Iran proper.
And General Lute, let's talk about Gaza quickly here. What will this mean for Israel's operation in Gaza and the people there?
I don't see an immediate impact on Israel's fight in Gaza. The air defense systems overnight worked as advertised, and this is a world-class air defense system. But the fight in Gaza is quite distinct and quite different. I don't imagine that the Netanyahu government will change its objectives in Gaza as a result of the overnight attacks.
Lieutenant General Douglas Lute, thank you so much for joining us here on GMA.